Oh, look, there's videos behind it, but it's all on how to install and stuff like that. There's videos behind it if you want to run an installation. Basically, I'll start from the beginning. Assuming go to a Kali download and you go to one of the official Kali downloads. Now, if you want to download an ISO or something, go to kali.org. If you want to download the VMs, go to this one. You can go to Offensive Security, but you can get there directly from Kali's downloads anyway, right? So if you go to Kali and it goes, oh, you know, these are the ISOs to run the installations and stuff. But it says here, okay, you can get a VMware or a VirtualBox one. And that will take you to the official Kali Linux, VMware, VirtualBox images kind of stuff. So that's the one that I downloaded. So I just downloaded it. You can use torrents, like I think I said a few weeks ago. Torrents are completely legal. You're allowed to use them. It's like a road. It's not it's not the car that you're driving. It's what you're doing with it. So I've downloaded this one already. You'll see 2020-3. So I'm saying import an appliance. And then I go to where I put my 2020-3. There it is, 2020-3. VBox AMD. And it says, okay, you're going to import it. Then gives me all my options available. Whoops. Then gives me all my options available. So I'm going to just change the name. So the name is what it appears with over here. So this is the name sort of section, right? So in this case, say AR or WLAN or whatever. So I'm going to call this one Fiber Kali VBox. Look, I'll get rid of that stuff as well because I don't really care. And it's got a lot of information in there for me. And I'm going to click import. It says you need to agree certain terms and conditions. Look, I'm going to stop that for 1 second. I like to reinitialize the MAC address. You can do it later. You can do it at the start, right? If you do it now, you can import it, and I agree to the terms and conditions. It was GPL, basically. It takes about a minute or two for it to import. It's not too long. It is 3 gigs or so to download. You can also, and I highly recommend you use a checksum. So do people know how to use checksums? I think it took 6 minutes to load. Yeah, look, it depends on your processor and your speed of your computer and your hard drive speeds and stuff like that. I think mine's getting put into basically an SSD and stuff. So it said 3 minutes and mine's done. Is Metasploit built into Kali? Metasploit, yes, and the Metasploit framework and stuff. How do you initialize the MAC address afterwards? Okay, so you go into the settings for it, so you can click on it and go to settings up the top, or you know, there's lots of different ways you can go into the settings. Just go into the settings. Under network, you have your network card there. Right? And you can reinitialize the MAC address. Now, what we're also going to have to do is, though, to make it so that way there is a switch. So remember here. Is it? No, one more back. It says we're going to do something with, like, you know, a virtual switch or something like that, right? Or we're going to set up Kali, you know, with a virtual switch. So this is VirtualBox that's going to supply this little switch here. So let's just go back 1 or 2 screens. There's a little. Let's keep going. Install Kali. You can watch the videos. That doesn't tell you how to import the appliance though. So why do we want to switch? Okay, good question. Now the switch means that Kali and the Metasploitable are able to talk to each other, but without going out past a router or a wireless access point or something like that. Because Metasploitable is going to look or act as though it's the target, it's the victim, right? So we don't want to traverse big networks and stuff like that. It'll just put more strain on your network. So we're going to need to do one of a few, there are a few potential options. Now, I'm going to suggest that we use a NAT network. Now, the reason why you might want to use NAT network, first of all, if you imagine, and I'm sure I've drawn this before, let me close these for a sec. Our computer, right, and we've got our network card. Tell me I've drawn this before, right? And everyone knows what I'm talking about. Right, we've got our network card. And sitting in VirtualBox, basically, is a tiny little fake switch here. Right? And we can have a router. And every computer, if it's NAT, every virtual machine has its own router. Whereas if it's a NAT network, we're connected to the same router. So we can have two virtual machines connected to the same, which means, well, and there's technically actually another switch in there, which means if we want to talk to the internet, we can go out the router to the internet if we've got a NAT network, right? If we want to just talk to each other, we can just go straight to each other as well. That's really handy, right? So under File and Preferences, I have the option for a network. Now, if you don't have anything there, we need to create a NAT network. So I'm going to click on the little plus button. It goes, all right, here's my NAT network. Okay, and it's given me an IP address range and stuff like that. Now you can change it. You can change some stuff in there. If you don't like the 10.0.2 or something, you can change the IP address ranges and stuff like that. It's got a DHCP server in there, which is good. Mine's active and enabled. I might even call it something like Cybernet. That's just horrible. Cybernet, you know, you can change the name. Doesn't matter what you call it. It calls it NAT network by default. If I go back in there, now it's called Cybernet. Awesome. And I'm going to make this machine part of that NAT network. And getting back to Kathy's question of how do you reinitialize the MAC address, I press this thing here and that will change this part. What
was that file menu that you went to, thanks?
Yep, okay. So that was under File, Preferences.
Oh, okay, I'm in the wrong spot.
And then under Preferences, I went to Network. And if there's nothing there, you've only got the plus button to add.
And you add a NAT one.
And we add one NAT network.
Yep.
Now, you can have multiple, by the way, if you want. And have different machines in different parts and stuff. It creates little virtual networks inside your system. Okay, so at this point, I have imported my virtual machine. It is part of a NAT network, and I can double check that because it says so right there. Right, so I've clicked on it, and under my network, it says it's a NAT network. Excellent. There's a whole heap of description stuff in there. I've got my username and password of Kali. All right, that's the other reason why I like to have it as a NAT network, is because it's then one further step back, because there is, dun, 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 dun. Where is it? Come on. There it is, top 10. What's one of the issues with the top 10 kind of stuff? Well, we have broken authentication or security misconfiguration. What are they? Well, if we go down to number security misconfiguration, commonly seen. This is commonly a result of insecure default configurations. I have a default configuration. My username is Kali. My password is Kali. That is not a good thing. So the first thing we should probably do is change it. All right.
Would default configurations come under like not connecting up the DHCP properly, and
no, default configurations or insecure default configurations, not just having a default configuration. A default configuration is fine, right? So, for example, you get your wireless something or other from Telstra, and it's got a password that is all these weird numbers and letters, and your Wi-Fi is called Telstra 4726D or whatever. Perfectly fine, right? That's a default configuration. The issue is if the default configuration didn't have a password, right? That's what we mean by an insecure default configuration. By default, your configuration should be secure. All right, so so I'm ready to go, right? I can fire this baby up, and it'll work, hopefully. No. Very cool. Because the USB 2 controller state is part of the state, the VM cannot be started to fix this problem. Okay. Now, if you get this kind of an error, especially something saying about the USB controller, go into your VM, you will notice something like that. And if you hover over it, it'll tell you what the problem is. Basically, I don't have something installed or something by the sounds of it. There's an easy way around it. Just change the USB setting to USB 1. It's not going to make too much difference. We're not going to use the USB port anyway. Okay, so I've changed that. Okay, so if you've got the same message, go to your settings and go to USB and change it to USB version 1. And then it should start up automatically. So I'll show you where it is. USB 1, just put the dot there. And now I'm up and running. Now, has everyone got Kali kind of working? I think, didn't we get it working a few weeks ago? Or did I suggest you guys should get it working over the holidays as well? Anyone not get it working? Anyone having a problem? Now, handy hint as well. See this cloud kind of looking icon? Click that one and this never comes off, right? That doesn't pop back up anymore, right? If you press the X one, it'll come back every time you start the virtual machine. All right. So now I'm ready to go. Username Kali, password Kali. And now hopefully it's working. Oh, VirtualBox file. Ooh, failed to get display. That's not good for me. It's not good at all. I don't have a... Well, mine's broken. Is everyone else getting a... Everyone else working? Yeah, okay. Anyone not working? Anyone's not working? I'm going to start mine again and see if it works. Good to see Kathy. She's going good. So anyone's not working? Let's see if mine works again. Yeah, one's balls. If this doesn't work, I'll just install it manually. That's that I'm always having issues. No, okay. The big list of naughty things. Is that safe? That doesn't look safe, mate.
You know, naughty strings like in text boxes, mate. It's actually GitHub site.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing there.
It's your mind, mate.
Okay, anyway, so mine's not working. That's fine. I'll get it working in the next few days. You should have a hopefully a working version. The next thing is, what else do we need to run? Well, we need to get something like Metasploitable. Now, did people download Metasploitable yet? It's all right if you haven't. So you can download the file. Look, I don't typically suggest SourceForge as a great place. It turned into quite a bad place for a while. You can download Metasploitable from here, Metasploitable version 2. It's perfectly fine. As it says, never expose this to a VM. You can get this from Rapid7, by the way. Right? If you want to download it from the actual.
Well, alarm bells ring when it says don't expose this to a VM. What do you mean? What are you saying?
No, not a VM. Don't expose it to the internet.
Yeah, what do you mean by that? Not on your VM. Go.
No. Don't expose this virtual machine. In other words, don't run this machine in a network you don't trust.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Right? So we don't trust things like, well, funnily enough, the internet, right? Because the internet's full of weirdos and people that'll do crazy things to computers, right?
Naughty strings and stuff.
Yes, they will do stuff like naughty strings and stuff. There we go. I think I've got one working. But you can download it from here, or you can download it from Rapid7. Now, to download it from Rapid7, from them, right, you've got to fill out a form, right? Now, it's perfectly fine, right? You can fill out your details. You won't get much spam and stuff like that, but they will require you to fill out a form to be able to get it working and stuff, right? So that's why we kind of suggest, look, it's not bad to get it from somewhere like this. It's not very big either, I will say that. It's not very big. It was uploaded by Rapid7 themselves. It's about 800 megabytes or so. Let's see. I'm putting so much stuff on this. I'm really impressed at how much I can whack on OneDrive. Microsoft OneDrive, just absolutely amazing. So that's going to take about 2 minutes to download. What have we got? 750. So almost there. Now, hopefully Kali will look maybe something kind of like this. Sorry, I've got it working in VMware, so I figured why not. That'll do. So it might look something kind of like this. You probably won't have these pieces here though. Those pieces won't be there. This is the baking one I prepared earlier. What's one of the first things you should probably do to your virtual machines and stuff like that? What do you think you should probably do? Nice,
Change
Dean.
the password.
Change the password. Yes, that's one of the things you should do.
Update it.
Update it. Yeah, that's definitely something you could do.
Check if you're connected to the internet.
Yeah, before I sort of go, I mean, like, yeah, you can check to see that you're connected and stuff like that, Mike. You know, so I can. ifconfig will tell me. Actually, okay, IP add will show me my IP address. I got a 192.168 IP address. Okay, looks okay. Yeah, I'm connected to the internet. I got a web page from
Download
Google.
some antivirus. Sorry.
No.
No.
No, look, I mean, look, updating is a good idea, but before I update, I actually like to do something else. Right? And that is take a snapshot. Why do I like to take a snapshot before I start doing an update?
So you can revert it.
Because, look, I have had Kali Linux die on me enough times that taking a snapshot is always a good idea before you do an upgrade or an update, because it will allow you to revert it back. Right?
Does that take up space on your actual VM?
Oh, look, a little bit. No, not really much more than it would running the update afterwards anyway. It what it does is it creates what's called a delta. So if you imagine you've got your hard drive and then you run another, so let me sort of draw it. So you've got your hard drive, right? And it's traveling in that kind of direction. What it does is it stops it at that one and starts a new one. So it doesn't really make a lot of difference size-wise. There's just a tiny little overlap kind of point. And then what happens is if you want to go back to your previous state, you just get rid of this one and you're back to here.
So like another partition.
Offline, it doesn't add any space.
Sorry?
If you take a snapshot with the device not powered on, it won't add any extra storage.
No, but as you make changes, it will add. It's only as you make changes that it does it. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I like to take a snapshot before I do an update and stuff like that. Look, you can always merge the snapshot back in, so that way, once you know it's all working and stuff, that's just a thing I've had enough times go wrong with virtual machines and stuff. It's typically a good idea to be able to roll it back to when it was last working kind of stuff. Would have been handy with my other VMs, but I've lost every VM. If you remember, I had a whole heap of VMs here, and I've lost them all. I don't know what's happened to it.
What happened? Is that the first time you found out? Because I remember you saying at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, no, I had to do some stuff to be able to get Huawei, some Huawei software working. And I think it killed my virtual box or something. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm getting rid of Huawei.
They're broken anyway, mate. You're all right.
So, yeah, look, I can fix it anyway. Okay, so look, we got that. I've downloaded Metasploitable. Excellent. Metasploitable in this case is a zip file. All right, fair enough. Why not? I'm just going to extract the zip file. What do I end up with after I extract it? It's going to take about 15 seconds. This is a little different. There's my Metasploitable. I end up with a VMDK file, right, and a VMX file, etc. Now, this is made for for VMware, not necessarily for VirtualBox. Can you still use it inside VirtualBox? What do you reckon?
Yes, otherwise you wouldn't be doing it, right?
Yes, of course you can. So the trick is, oops, let's just get rid of this. The trick is with it, create a new VM, and when it asks you where's the hard drive, point it to this hard drive. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say new virtual machine, and I'm going to say, all right, it's a Metasploitable. It's not Windows, it's Linux, and basically you can choose Ubuntu 64-bit because that's what Metasploitable is based on. So these are my settings: Metasploitable, Linux, Ubuntu 64-bit. Next, a gig of RAM is fine. Now, by the way, there is a video or something on it. There you go, how to use Metasploitable on VirtualBox. There's some instructions and stuff. So it's all there. But 1 gig of RAM is fine. And at this point, it says, okay, do you want to create a virtual hard drive? I'm going to say no. Use an existing hard drive. And I point it to where I've got my Metasploitable. There it is, and it finds the VMDK. So I said, use an existing hard drive, and then I find my file, and you'll see this name will go in this box, and it will tell me how big it is, etc. So I go open, and now it's called Metasploitable there. When I click create, I've now got my Metasploitable virtual machine there. I can double click it, and hopefully it will all fire up.
So I didn't seem to quite have. Oh, hang on. Oh no, I found it as soon as I started asking.
That's a good reason to start asking.
I'm just expecting it now. It took a bit longer to download.
Yeah, look, that's all right. Yeah, my internet and computer seems to be running really well tonight. I'm a little worried when it all starts working. So Metasploitable still downloading. Yeah, look, Dean, that's a really good to give us that kind of thing. I know I've been a bit slack on that, I'll be honest. I didn't use the checksums or any of that sort of stuff. You really should check your checksums and stuff like that. Okay, so there's my Metasploitable. It's kind of up. There's not a lot I can do with it at the moment. But let's see, do I have another? I've got another VM. Come on, baby. I think I found my old one. There it is, Kali. I think this is the one that was working.
So we've created a brand new virtual machine, and rather than letting it have its default virtual hard drive, we've pointed it at a particular Metasploitable VM hard drive. Is that right? I'm just trying to follow exactly, because what I was almost expecting when we downloaded Metasploitable was that we would open it in Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager, and it would be its own actual VM rather than us creating a new one.
So
and then
what we got from from the website was we got basically sort of a pre-built virtual machine. But let's see if right, so this is what VirtualBox's ones look like, right? So you end up with a VirtualBox preferences file, right? So this is just a text file basically. And then you've got a hard drive, a VDI file. And then you've got some other stuff, some snapshots and logs. This is where those sorts of pieces go. So your VMs are just a few files. What we downloaded was the same sort of thing, right? A VMDK file is a virtual disk, right? A VMware virtual disk file. So what we said was, I'm going to start a virtual machine, and then I'm going to plug that hard drive as the hard drive, right? So I'm just kind of taking a hard drive out of one computer and putting in another computer. Right. That's basically the virtual equivalent of what we're doing. Now, if you have VMware installed, like some sort of VMware, you can just double click this file here, this VMX file. If you double click it, it will set up and run a virtual machine, right? It will pre-build it for you. To give you an idea, so because remember, I don't have a lot of virtual machines here, right? But these are where my VMware or VirtualBox VMs are. Right, so I'm going to, here's my CyberSec. If I double click my VirtualBox preferences file, my VBox, what you're going to see in a sec, it's going to try and run the configuration. There you go, CyberSec with Marcus. So I can get them all back, right, just by running that preference file. However, we can't use that because it's made for VMware and we're using VirtualBox.
Right, okay.
So we're just kind of transplanting the hard drive.
Can I ask a question, please? When it got to
Sure.
where it said which hard drive method do you select? Do not add a virtual disk, create a virtual disk. Which one did you select?
So I chose use an existing virtual machine. So this is the screen you're asking about.
Yeah.
I said use an existing. And when I choose that, it says, okay, which one do you want? And then I go find it. So I went and found the VMDK file.
Okay, I'm slightly getting a different window to that.
Yeah, it'll look different. You'll have to find where did you extract it. So this is where I extracted it. If I show you the... So this was the Metasploitable file there.
Yeah.
And I extracted it into that folder.
Yep. So when
But
you go,
then got to go into that folder and find it.
so back at that other screen,
Yeah.
when you go find, using
So
existing,
click on that little arrow there, this
Yeah.
arrow. Let's choose a VirtualBox thing.
oh,
there.
mine doesn't come up with that. Mine actually,
And then you might need to find where did you store it, where did you save it and stuff. So it might be in like your downloads or something, or wherever you've put it. You need to find where it is. Where did you extract it? So this is where I extracted it, all the way through here. This is my path. In my OneDrive, TAFE, folder. And now I've got the two machines running, in theory. Now I'm going to tell you straight up, mine aren't going to be able to see each other at the moment because they're not both on a NAT network, or I don't think they're on a NAT network. So I need to put them on there. Devices, network. Put them on both onto the same NAT network. And now...
Does that automatically put you like through a virtual switch?
Yeah, and now I've got them behind one virtual switch and one router. So if you imagine, there is, oops, there is a virtual switch here, and then a router going to the ubiquitous cloud out to the internet. Right, so that's what I've got. Now, what I find sometimes is, oops, come on. Double check to make sure you've got an IP address that's accurate and stuff. So 10.0.2.4, that looks good. and I need to log in here. It tells me my username. Whoops. It tells me the username is msfadmin. It says in the box there. And the password is msfadmin. How do I know? Well, because it says it right there. And I'm logged in. Now, there's no GUI on this one, by the way. And I've got 10.0.2.15. Let's try it out. Now, they can't talk to each other at the moment. Why not? Well, this network, even though I changed it, even though I said network settings is right, I'm just going to give it a quick reboot to make sure. That network comes good. You can give it a restart and they should both be on the same network. You can also just stop and start the networking service if you know how to do it. But I find giving them a quick reboot will work. And they should be able to ping each other.
How did you reboot it?
I typed sudo and then the word reboot.
Okay, thank you.
Sudo space reboot. And it'll ask for the password, which is the same password, msfadmin.
How did you find originally what the password was? Oh,
It's written there on the bottom.
Twice I've done that tonight. I'm tired.
Coffee is your friend. Now 10.0.2.5, 10.0.2.4. I'm feeling pretty lucky. I can ping. They can talk to each other. There we go. They can ping each other. Now you have set up your lab. And guess what? We've done basically 2 lessons tonight. Set up the lab testing environment. Test the lab, it says. Can you ping both the machines and stuff like that? Look, it says use Nmap to test it or whatever. We'll come to that later. We'll use that. Lesson 3 is complete. So we've done lesson 1 and lesson 3.
Ooh.
And I think I'll stop the recording now.